Hey guys, this is Lisa, aka Wolf and Storm, coming at ya live from not my house because it is spring break and my kids are visiting their dad, so here we are. But I still have my setup for the most part, and I'm using my nifty, neato new microphone here. So hopefully the audio will be a little bit more crisp for you. So this is going to be a short one. I'm not reviewing anything. I'm actually going to be talking about some. It is stuff that has to do with Doctor Who, but it's some kind of heavy stuff that I felt like I needed to give my opinion on. I know it's probably going to get diminished in the swath of different opinions within the many hundreds of thousands of voices within the fandom, but I think my thoughts on this are a little different than other people's. So yeah, before we get to that though, the usual for my vids, the huge, please help me keep on keeping on by liking and subscribing. Smack that button, hit that bell. Thank you very much. The more views I get, the more I can help, the more you can help me bring you this nifty neato content. Also, don't forget, hit me up online on Twitter and Patreon. The links to those will be in the description as usual. Yeah, I'm not going to do any David Tennant news right now because that's not what this video is about. So we're just going to get straight into it. I think this was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. There was a post on Twitter from the official Doctor Who site. It was something for like Teacher Appreciation Day or something like that, and the picture that they posted was a picture of the human version of the Dr. John Smith from the series 3 episode Human Nature / Family Blood. And it instantly created a bit of an uproar. I know that a lot of the fans were wondering why the whoever runs the account didn't just post a picture of him as the physics teacher from series 2 episode School Reunion, because apparently that would create less of a flashpoint. I know that in Human Nature Family Blood that there is some stuff in this episode that is distinctly uncomfortable. There is some stuff in this episode that is unsettling. Not least of which is, of course, the alien entities that the Doctor's hiding from. But the real issue with the picture is not everybody really likes, or I don't want to say not everybody, but there's numbers of people within fandom. I'm trying to sound as neutral as possible here because I really don't like doing social justice warrior stuff at all. I like to keep it out. That do not like John Smith, the human version of the Doctor, because of the way that he treats certain people. Now, okay, before I get any deeper into this, you guys already have realized for some years now that Doctor Who has been getting increasingly progressive, I want to say, in the social justice politics, to the detriment of the show overall. I know this is a very divisive opinion and it's split fandom quite effectively, but I've seen these posts come from viewers that aren't hardcore viewers, that are casual, that just enjoy the show for what it is and aren't the hardcore ones going back like 40 some odd years. So if you can't appeal to your casual viewers, if this is causing a problem with them, the ones that really don't dive that deep in and just want a entertaining show that they enjoy, if you can't give them that, you've got a problem. A serious problem. Because I know that the BBC has for years gotten away with what is it called, like sweeping the hardcore fans under the rug and focusing more on their key demographic, which is the casual fans and now apparently children. So they're not entirely worried about pleasing us or maintaining the show's quality. They're just, money, 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 right? So, yeah. A lot of the comments weren't even from the hardcore to fans. Most of the commentary that was negative was coming from just your casual people, that just everyday watchers that watch it just because they think it's an entertaining show. So when you've already pissed them off, you might want to sit back, take a think, rearrange, sort of, kind of. Okay, so they didn't like the picture because in the episode there were a few scenes where John Smith came off as racist towards Martha, as well as Nurse Joan Redfern also came off as racist and condescending towards Martha. I'm not going to argue that this didn't happen. Was it overt? Not really. It was subtle, but it was there. Because Doctor Who has never been the type of show to shy away from that kind of thing. They just don't throw it in, well, they do now, but at that point in time, they didn't throw it in your face. They just, that subtlety of it was there. So, I noticed a lot of the comments were like, why would he do this? Why would he act this way? How dare he go and do that? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm not going to argue that the way he treated Martha at first was wrong. Yes. He treated her in a substandard way, mostly because I think more about class distinction than color, at least on his part. I didn't get the gist from him that he was dissing her because of the color of her skin. I got it more that because he wanted her to know her place, that she was the maid and he was the professor, whatever, like he was the upper class teacher, she was the lower class housemaid. But I didn't get the gist that he had anything against, I mean, not entirely. Because you have to remember, in the episode, the TARDIS pre-programmed him with enough memories to remember this, fake life that he had, and that Martha was a part of that she had been working for his family for many years. So she's well known to him enough that he would let her in. So I don't think, I'm sure it was brewing under there somewhere, but I don't think it was that in your face as people would like to believe it was. I'm not saying that some things did not occur that seemed to tote that line. Yes. Now, as for Nurse Redfern, yeah, that was some glaring obvious, especially when Martha was trying to appeal to her by making her understand that she was in fact a doctor and she knew what she was talking about. And Joan came off like, someone like you going to medical school? You've got to be kidding me. And I knew right then that it wasn't just about her class, although that was part of it. It was also because of the color of her skin. Yes. Yeah. Joan Redfern's not perfect. You know why? Because this, as Martha said, is 1913. This is not present day. Okay. I really do try to stay out of the social justice politics of it all. But I have to say this because it really grinds my gears. On the one hand, social justice warriors say that there is not enough accurate representation of people of color and their plight and, just them in general on shows. Whether they be dramas, comedies, sci-fi, whatever. But then they also, when that representation is advanced and they are trying to show it in an accurate light, they get angry. Because why you gotta be racist? Well, here's the thing. If it's in a part of history where racism exists, like 1913, I think it's got to be there. Would you have preferred that they had this episode and she was treated like everybody else? And there was no difference? That there was no class distinction, no color distinction, nothing? Is that what you would have preferred? Because if it was done that way, then the social justice warriors would have complained that it's not progressive enough because it's not showing the plight of people of color in an accurate light. It's like there is no middle ground that will satisfy anyone. I'm sorry to burst y'all's bubble, but in 1913, racism and classism was a thing. I don't know what else to tell you. It was a thing. I mean, they could have gone really overboard and had the racism in these scenes, beefed up 100%. But then y'all would have been like, God dang, what the hell? Uncomfortable. And you would click and not even watched it. You're too uncomfortable to watch it on screen, and then you're too pissed off to watch it when it's not. So, which is it? What's it going to be that will satisfy you? I mean, they showed this kind of racism, progressive representation with the Seventh Doctor and Ace when they went back to the 40s. They showed this not so subtly and actually very effectively during the Fourth Doctor's time in Genesis of the Daleks. That whole Dalek storyline could be a referendum on racial politics and master race stereotyping, Nazism, I mean, they didn't outright, preach to the audience, but those subtleties were there within the writing, and it made those episodes fantastic. The subtleties were also there in Family of Blood. The only scene where I would say that it wasn't subtle was probably the interaction between Martha and Jenny when they were cleaning the floor, and Baines and his little butt boys come in and start to make fun of them. Again, it could be argued it was more class, but no, when you really look at Baines as a character, yeah, he's all over the place. He's just an objectively hateful person all around. All the reasons. He wasn't trying to be sly about it. It was in your face. But that's accurate, But you didn't get pissed off about Baines, right? Because, well, Baines is the villain. So we expect that. But you get pissed off at the Doctor. Or the human version of him. You blame him for acting like an asshole. As if he had any control over it. Meanwhile, you forget. Actually, it's quite interesting to me that a lot of people who commented about this episode seem to have the mistaken misconception that the Doctor himself chose the time period in which to land. That he was the one that chose to be in that place in that time. God, this episode has been out in TVverse for 14 years, since 2007. I'm sure you guys have watched it a gazillion times by now to know that that's not the truth. I don't know if that's a Mandela effect that you guys have. You're just seeing it from, seeing it wrong, or you heard it wrong, or you just forgot it, or what. But if you look at the very first scene at the beginning of the episode where they're trying to outrun the Family of Blood, and the Doctor gets the idea to do the Chameleon Arch, he specifically says to Martha that the TARDIS will pick the place and time. It will take care of everything. It will give him an identity. It will decide where he's going to to land. It will give him an identity. It will give him enough memories to let her in. And all she needs to do is take care of him for 3 months and make sure he doesn't hurt anybody or screw the timeline up at all. And that if they show up, get him out. That's it. He literally had no choice about where the TARDIS was going to send him. The TARDIS did everything. The TARDIS could have sent him to fucking present day. Could have sent him to 2007, where he could have ingratiated into the crowd a lot more effectively, but it didn't. For some reason, the TARDIS made a choice, and it sent him to 1913 in Farmingham in the middle of nowhere. And you guys know as well as I do, if you've watched the show for even a modicum of time, that the TARDIS never sends him anywhere he doesn't need to be. Like, he had to be there at that time. This was always going to happen. Period. So, to blame him for getting himself sent to a place where there were going to be racial distinctions and class distinctions is just inherently wrong. It was not on him. This was on the TARDIS. And even still, doesn't matter where it sent him. The fact is, it sent him there, and he had to make do with what he had. Martha had to make do with what was there. She didn't like it. Matter of fact, she hated it because of the way she was being treated, but she knew it was 3 months and then they'd be gone. Period. Done. Over. The family blood would poof out of existence. They would die. She could wake them up and they could move on. Of course, she didn't count on certain events occurring that were out of her control. And yes, I know there are certain issues with the way that the doctor treated her in this episode. That he apparently didn't leave her any rules or explanations or instructions if he should fall in love. And I know that Nurse Redfern was pissed off. Well, what kind of man is that who wouldn't even consider it? The kind of man who was in love with somebody else and couldn't give his heart like that to anyone? The kind of man who had no intention of staying any longer than was necessary? I'm sorry. Like, I'm truly sorry that you got your heart broke, but when he doesn't remember who he is and he's taking on this other personality, it's almost like someone who had a trauma, has amnesia, and has had to adopt an entire new personality to function. And because they don't remember who they used to be, they're not acting the way that they used to be. Their personality has shifted. That's kind of like what happened with him. Remembers nothing except whatever memories that the TARDIS has given him. So, let me ask you this. Let's say the story happened the same way, but John Smith did not have those racial and class distinctions inbred in his memories at all. That he did not act like your typical 1913 gentleman. Would that really have been any better? Honestly. I mean, I know racism is uncomfortable for everyone. Believe me, it is. No one likes to talk about it, even though it's blatantly there. But would it really have made the story better? Would it have made as much sense? Would it have been as dramatic? Would our hearts have broken as much for Martha if she was never looked down upon, never made fun of, never called names or judged or anything? Then all the drama in the episode, all of the hurt that was surrounding Martha, that was propelling her forward, all the character growth she had in this episode, I mean, what would have been the point if everything was just hunky-dory? I just don't get it. It seems like there is no middle ground that will satisfy anybody. You take the racism out, then the progressives get mad because you're not representing the time period accurately. You put the racism back in, then they get pissed off. Why the hell everybody racist? What do you want? Seriously, what do you want? Because if there was no race or class distinction in this episode, I wager to say that it would not have been nearly as good. It actually probably would have been quite boring because there would have been no stakes. Really. And it would make everybody very non-distinct if everybody just acted and thought the same. And the whole place was, a perfect paragon of society. That's not how humanity works. It's just not. It's sad, and I wish it wasn't that way. I wish we could be 100%, perfect, and that we, that racism was not a thing anymore, but unfortunately, it's there. And it's not something that can be ignored. I mean, a lot of what the social justice people have said is that they're pissed off that the show is not progressive enough. And then when they try to be, by touching on racism and class distinction in these little ways, oh, why you got to be so racist? You nasty. Why you got to be so racist? What else would you rather they have done? Just not have it there at all? It has to be there to effectively, so you could effectively be in Martha's corner. So you could be rooting for her to be successful, to be the hero, to, show them up so that when she does make Nurse Redfern believe that she is a doctor, or when she gets the better of Baines and all these people that look down on her because of her color and her class, it's a big moment for her. That scene in the ball, in the gathering place where they were having that dance, that's a big scene for her because she's finally coming out of her shell and being like, yeah, I'm fucking here and I'm a badass. Just because I'm a person of color and lower class doesn't mean that I can't save the whole world. Which she effectively does. She takes care of him, she looks after him, and she saves him. And she helps him to get himself back. I wager the episode is better because it has that. Is John Smith an asshole in this episode? You better believe it. He treats Martha poorly. He allows the children to be beaten. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. Yes, it's true. He's an ass. But he's a product. That particular character that was made up by the TARDIS was a product of the time. 100%. I wager that if he was not, and he was picture 100% perfect, just like the Doctor, he would have been really boring. Like, really boring. I've always prided David on being able to find a certain amount of depth in a character and to pull that out and make it really fascinating and really awesome. And it's hard to do that if you have a character that has no flaws, no ingrained issues, nothing, just 100% fucking perfect. That would have turned John Smith, well, I can't call him a Mary Sue because he's not a girl, a Marty Sue? That people would have probably hated even more for being too perfect. And it would have made the episode extremely boring because he wouldn't really have needed Martha for anything if he was that perfect. I get where people of color are coming from. I get it. And yes, whoever was in charge of the Doctor Who official Twitter feed probably should have used a different picture. The one from School Reunion probably would have been better. But I don't think that they were trying to say that that particular character was a perfect paragon of what teacher should be. Just, hey, David Tennant is a teacher. Awesome, right? Appreciate your teachers. I really think that's all they were going for. I don't think they were trying to hurt feelings. But then, I cannot account for what other people think. I'm not a person of color, so I can't know other people's feelings, and you have every right to feel the way that you feel. Absolutely. You have every right to be offended. You have every right to be hurt by the idea that that version of the doctor might be seen as in a positive light, because he really wasn't supposed to be seen in a positive light. I mean, the entire two-parter, I would argue, is centered around the fact that even though Nurse Redfern is in love with him, he's not the best guy. Like, really. They were trying to make him as opposite to the doctor as possible. And congratulations, they fucking pulled it off. Because if they hadn't, and he was that close to the doctor's own personality, he would have stood out that much more and got himself caught a lot quicker. So it only makes sense that the TARDIS would pick a set of memories and a personality that would be best suited to allow him to disappear. To be so far from who the doctor is, personality-wise, that the family could not flush him out. I don't know what you'd rather have, really. Because anything else would have made the episode horrible. And I give props to, Russell for doing a great job, and for Paul Cornell, who wrote the original book that this two-parter is based off of. Props for these episodes, not the bullshit that he pulled last year, rewriting the freaking ending. That was an asshole move. That is something that doesn't make any sense and does not go along with the doctor's personality at all. That he would let daughter of mine go free, knowing she's going to go around and start killing people. Well, in the 3 months she's got left to live, unless she gets a new body. That just takes away from all the strength of that ending scene where he sends each of them off to their punishment. That scene is the one that everybody remembers to this day, like almost 15 years on, is the one that sticks out in everybody's mind. Son of mine narrating over those scenes where he sends the father into the warp star, or no, the mother into the warp star, the father in unbreakable chains, the daughter of mine in every mirror, unable to escape, and then himself as a scarecrow for life. Yeah. The strength and the darkness of that scene, in conjunction with the doctor's personality, it made that episode so awesome. To see him go to that dark place and to see what he had to do, even though he didn't want to do it, what he had to do to those people. And then Cornell goes and ruins it by allowing the 13th Doctor to set Daughter of Mine free for no real reason. It's something the Doctor would not do. Not to her, anyway. Because that's like the Doctor going and, setting Davros free or some shit. That's just, no. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the whole social justice worry. But I really do try to stay out of these conversations because it's ripped the fandom up so badly. And I really wish that it didn't. But this polarization has got to stop because nobody seems to be satisfied on either end. I wish there could be some middle ground where we could come together and find some way to be satisfied with what we have on screen. But each side wants what they want, and it's like nobody can seem to be satisfied. You take one thing away, they get pissed. You put another thing in, they get pissed. It's like nothing makes them happy. It's hard to know what else to do, and it's just sad. It's just really sad. Anyway, those are my 2 cents. I'll probably be posting this video a little bit later tonight, and hopefully my Pudgy Bear will be here before long, And we will do an unboxing video on that, along with the unbound, completely staged book when it gets here, and swag. So I will see you guys when I see you. Peace out, yo.
Good night.